Hey, how you guys doing? How's it going? I am Solar Gray, the Cinematic Sorcerer. Let me get a little bit more situated, and you have made it, my friends, to the dark side of the room. How you guys doing? Let me just take care of this sound thing that I got going real quick. Yeah, there we go. And boom. Got all that. Oh my god. Yeah, you guys might have to change your settings to 1080p on your YouTubes as you're going. I didn't know that mine was set for 480. It's a thing. I am very tired today, but that is okay because I am here. I am here for you guys. I'm doing all that stuff. And welcome to the dark side of the room. I am Solar Gray, your Cinematic Sorcerer, and I am back. I am here. I am live. I said I want to get close to you. And we are here back in the Wizard's Tower, and it has been a thing. It's been a week. I always forget to do a thing, and I need you guys to just bear with me for just a minute as I do a thing, because I haven't actually pulled up all of my special guests for this week. Now, let's take a look here. Oh wait, I need to go to my channel. Isn't that fun? There we are. There we go. Hello. Alright, fantastic. I hope the sound is working out okay. I did all those preliminary things that were like, okay, am I being too loud? Am I not being too loud? Blah, blah, blah. Yakety schmackety. Anyway, now that we're here, and I've been doing this for way too long, sorry, 30 seconds, I know it's a long time. But, welcome to the dark side of the room. This is the show where you get the history of being a game of color and a lot of other things. A lot of people tune in, they're like, oh my god, I didn't expect things to be this deep. Well, grab your snorkel, because we go deep. That is just what we do, you know? So, yeah, I know my intro music is always too loud, but that's okay. I just want to make sure that you guys know I'm here. Hey, how you doing? And before we get started with today's show, and yes, communications, expectations, and cultural differences, this is going to be a thing. But before we do this, let's take care of some real business and all that stuff. If you guys like what we do over here at Backinthedeck, by the way, how do you guys like the background? I'm experimenting with a few other things. Anyhow, if you guys like what we're doing and all that stuff, then do us a favor and of course like, subscribe, and all those things that you do down there. I think it's there, that red button and that little bell, and that will let you guys know when I'm doing stuff, and that will give my dark overlords all hail the regulations. It'll let them know whether or not I'm actually here and doing stuff. And it'll let them know to tell other people to show up and all that stuff. But yeah, you guys can subscribe, show my videos to people that you think would get something out of them. I'm looking at you, Daryl. Thanks for showing up, man. And again, if you guys want to support us in a more direct way, then that is easy. All you gotta do is head over to patreon.com/BID_P, and you guys can sign up and become a patron for as little as $1 a month. $1 a month, and you guys will have access to everything that we do. And I will let you guys know we have been doing some stuff, and I mean some serious stuff. It's one of the reasons that I tend to be so late. Also, if you guys don't have time to watch this because you are in your car, I totally understand. Just head on over to soundcloud.com/BID_P. I know we're really creative for all that stuff. And and of course, you guys can listen to all that stuff honestly in your car, while you're working out, doing all that stuff, so you don't have to look at my face. Although it's an okay face. I mean, it's one of those things. And this is the best part. You guys can download and keep the MP3s of every single show that we upload for free forever. That's my way of saying, hey, thanks. Because I know what it's like to be broke. Sorry, I do. And I don't like putting paywalls behind a lot of content, you know. I really don't like putting paywalls behind any content, but I gotta keep the lights on and keep the internet going. So, with that, oh my god, there is some other stuff. There is so many things. Hang on a minute. Report, blah, blah, blah. No. What the? This is interesting. I got one of my things over here in the chat. Yeah. So I've got some other stuff here in the chat, and YouTube has been doing some weird stuff. I'm looking at a comment that shouldn't be super moderated, so I'm trying to give it clearance. Yeah, just show. Because really, yeah, I mean, like, subscribe, and all that other stuff, and it's like, this message is being held for review, and I'm like, huh? Yeah. So, what are we doing today? Today, we are talking about communication, expectations, and cultural differences. And like every episode, I open with a story. So, today's story... look at that. Yeah, alright, nice and quiet. You guys comfortable? I'm comfortable. I'm relatively comfortable. Today's story is about how later on in my gaming career, I switched up gaming groups. I found myself via a very good friend of mine in a live action role-playing game for White Wolf. This was called a LARP. Now, this was big because this was the first time I actually got to see role-playing in a way that I always pictured it. Now, this wasn't a barfer LARP. Now, boffer. This was not a buffer LARP. For you guys that don't know the difference, it's real simple. A regular LARP, you put on costumes, you run around, you play pretend, instead of just doing it at the table. A buffer LARP, that is a whole nother level where, you know, if you want to cast magic spells, you have like tennis balls with the spells on them, or Ziploc bags full of flour, and you carry around what are called boffer weapons, which are essentially a really thin piece of PVC pipe covered in foam most of the time. Like if you're carrying around a sword, you would have like a thin piece of PVC pipe and you would cover it in a pool noodle so you can hit your friends with it and it won't hurt all that bad. And we weren't on that level because this was a game of Vampire the Masquerade, which was a game that I really I was into. I mean, I was into it for the horror aspect, and I'd come into a group that I'm still friends with today. Matter of fact, this game was run by Henchman, by License to Hench, my Monday host and the co-host of Buster Recap. And this was actually how I met the guy. You know, I was brought in by another friend of mine. And this was interesting because I believe it was a couple of weeks ago that I talked about how when you learn something initially, it doesn't matter what it is. It really doesn't matter what it is that you learn. Hang on, I gotta make a quick little adjustment here because I don't like the way that I'm framing. Okay, that's better. When you learn anything new, the way that you learn it tends to be the way that you think it's done all the way around the world. My high school physics teacher, no, my college physics teacher, well, one of the two. Anyway, his name was Greg Miller, fantastic dude, and he taught me an axiom that I've yet to disprove, and it goes thusly. The best instructors, teachers, and those things are the ones who lie to you with the straightest face. Thus, never trust a good instructor. And the reason for this is actually pretty interesting and pretty clear when I think about it. What I've got is, in a nutshell, when you're studying mathematics or most STEM subjects, if you will, there's this idea, okay, and it's a really simple idea that you learn axioms, okay, such as a negative times a negative equals a positive, and that doesn't change, and that is the way it is. That is the law of the universe. When you study physics, you've got theories, okay, like, you have the theory of evolution, you have the theory of gravity, believe it or not. You've got subatomic theory, you've got all these different theories, okay? And the theories that you deal with are not proven, okay? They're just ideas and models. But once they are proven and documented and repeated consistently, then they become law. Like Newton's laws of thermodynamics. But until then, you learn everything as though it is a law. Now, this comes down to the idea that whatever role-playing game, wherever it is that you learn how to game, be it this channel or other channels like WebDM or in groups or at your local gaming store, it's really easy to fall into the idea that look at all that. Yeah, I gotta fix some lighting. It's really easy to fall into the idea that the way that you game at your local store is the way that it's done all over the world. Okay, and this is part of a gaming culture or a gaming subculture. Okay, now this is one of the reasons that we talk about games here is because games involve interacting with people create cultures, and cultures create paradigms, and it just goes on to this long thing. Okay, so the people that I learned to play White Wolf games with, and I have to specifically say White Wolf games, it'll be relevant later on in the story, we played horror games. Okay, we played monsters trying to stop other monsters. Like, it was really Monster of the Week, 1980s kind of, 1980s TV plots, that kind of thing. And Vampire was all right. It was all right. I've only been big on Dracula and the Lost Boys. Okay, that was, vampires as a whole, as a genre. Okay, the women were pretty, but outside of that, and not my bag. However, White Wolf put out a game for every supernatural thing, and the first book that I bought was Werewolf: The Apocalypse, and it was like, yeah, that was the whole thing. You turn into wolves. I could be like American Werewolf in London, and they took all these different cultures and did a whole lot of appropriation and things that would not be cool today. But this was the 90s, so we didn't know better. And not to say that we haven't learned since, all right? So step away from your keyboards, don't at me. And I played, the idea of sometimes I did feel like a monster, and I wrote up monstrous characters, and they did monstrous things for reasons. But this game was very political, and it was very intrigue. So it was more like, in today's standards, it was more like playing Game of Thrones than it was like any other thing. And again, there's nothing inherently wrong or incorrect about that, and that is something that I have to make clear. The fact that I came from an adventurer background and into a political game was a little bit of a culture shock. Now, a lot of the people that I talked to, and a lot of the people that I met, always played the political game. They never played the game any differently. And they thought that the way that they played the game was how you played the game. And they use their parlance and their private jokes and their vocabulary. Now, when I say vocabulary, my girlfriend would say semantics, okay, a lot of different things. But what that means is I tend to call it cultural idioms or pidgin, if you will, because in a lot of places, one word may mean something, and then you go somewhere else, and that word means something completely different. Example, here in the United States, we have a nice dairy drink, which is essentially a very runny and cold drink that is primarily yogurt that we call kefir. Okay, and you know, kefir is some fun stuff. It's like Go-Gurt, but you can drink it instead of having to do that thing, you know. And but that word is the N-bomb in South Africa. Okay. If you guys read the Da Vinci Code, you'll see how KKK idiot robes, or I can't say idiot robes, but they're the robes that they wear in the KKK look very similar to ceremonial Catholic dress in, I believe, Spain. But don't quote me on that. No, I'm not citing the sources. Y'all got Google. So these things, these differences in culture, differences in playing paradigm, kind of make joining new groups a little challenging, because what does is mean, you know. This is one of the things that happens when you can go from table to table, where you can be at a table with a bunch of min-maxers, which are one-trick ponies who end up minimizing everything on their character sheet in order to be really good at this one thing. And that could be the standard. The standard in my games right now, with one of my gaming groups, is metagaming's okay because the game isn't important, the spending time with the friends is, and that is their paradigm. And what that generally means is when I want to hang out with them, we'll be hanging out under the pretense of playing a game. But if I want to play a game, they are not the ones I call. Because they don't want to play a game, they just want to hang out and be in our presence. And again, there's nothing inherently right or wrong. It's just a matter of understanding the culture that you're in. Okay, but there are expectations in communication, and this is where people start to get irritated and grow resentments, because in order to hang out or to do anything with other people, there's a lexicon that I had to learn, because again, my Hollywood gamers were different from my Eagle Rock gamers, and we're talking like 15 to 20 miles in between each of these cities, okay, so bear with me. And they were different from my South Bay gamers, and even my South Bay gamers came in 5 flavors, you know. So it's a very, very, very challenging thing to be in a place where communication is difficult, because there is an expectation of the people who are regular there for you to know their language. It was interesting. Some of you guys out there might know a little bit and have seen some of my some of the stuff on my other channel. I was a fire performer for 30 years. Okay, 30 years. I was independently trained until I got some training from some circus folks. And I did the busking thing. I've been on stage. I did a whole bunch of stuff. But when I joined one particular fire community, they have their own language. They have their names for certain tricks. They have a whole language, a whole set of expectation, and a whole standard by which they judge other performers. And it was interesting because when I met a lot of the people, I come at it in the same way I always do, with enthusiasm, and I like making friends. And looking back on it, I realized I was being tested to see if I knew their tricks and if I was a threat, and blah, 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 blah. And they were doing all these things using cultural idioms where if you were part of that culture, you understood. The easiest way to see this is look at any movie that has mean girls in it. When someone says, nice shirt, I'm like, thank you, nice shirt. In opposed to, nice shirt, what's it made from? Your mother's back hair! That kind of thing. That wasn't me. I take people at what they say. And that made me popular and unpopular all at the same time, because I legitimately didn't know when I was being insulted, nor did I know when I was being insulting. You guys see where I'm going with this? So when we deal when we deal with people on a lot of levels, we have this expectation of normalcy. Okay? And the only thing that we know as normal is what we consider normal. This is what makes empathy so important. Okay? I talk to a lot of people, and one of the things that I'm always on them about is, how do you know that the person that you are talking to knows what you're thinking? Okay, I have brothers, and my brothers and I, hang on, give me a few. We're going through some technical stuff. Ugh. Okay, where's my cursor?